Unit 9. Screen. Lesson. Screen. The lesson overview. In this lesson, you will learn how to design and program simple screens with input and output fields and push buttons. The business example is that you are to develop a program with screen output of data that needs to be changed. Furthermore, the corresponding functions of your program are to be accessible through push buttons. The features of screens. A screen not only consists of its layout with input and output fields, push buttons and other screen elements, but also a processing logic. Source code excerpts that are processed at the pre-post processing of the screen display. The layout can be designed very flexibly with input fields, output fields, radio buttons, check fields, and, most importantly, push buttons with which the corresponding functions of the program can be executed. The screen sequence. You start a screen sequence by calling up the first screen from the processing block of your program. After a screen is processed, the statically or dynamically defined screen sequence is processed. You call a screen in your program using the ABAP statement call screen, and you specify a screen number. The components of a screen. Each screen has the following components. The properties or the attributes. Properties contain, for example, a 4-digit number as the screen name, a short text, information on the screen type, for example, if it is a normal for full screen size, and also specify the default next screen. The layout, where you can place input and output fields, text, push buttons, and other elements on your screen. Such elements are called screen elements. The element list lists all screen elements including their attributes such as position, size, data type, and so on. And the flow logic. The flow logic of a screen consists of the PBO, the process before output, and the PAI, the process after input. The PBO contains references to processing blocks, PBO modules that are processed in preparation for the screen display. For example, data selection, before the screen is sent. PAI contains references to processing blocks, PAI models, that are processed as a reaction to user input and actions. For example, save data. Let's take a look inside the system at an example of a screen. So let's start by creating a program and creating a screen and examining the properties of the screen. So we go to Transaction SE80 Object Navigator, and inside our package in Programs we right click, Create, and we're going to call this program the C-Flight Screen Program. Okay. Now for a title, we're going to write flights executable program and save. inside our package and in the same request. So now that we have the program, we're going to create a screen inside the program. So to do that, we right click on our program when we select create screen. So I want to save my program before leaving. Yes. And to create a screen, I have to specify a screen number. I always like starting my screens with 100. So I specify 100 and OK. I write a short description for my screen. So I'm going to write, let me think about this one. Let's write change flight data. We're going to use this screen to change some flight data. It's going to be a screen type, a normal screen, so this way is going to be full size. And on the next screen we're going to specify 100 also. So we save our screen. And now let's take a look. We have 3 tabs. The attributes tab, when we can specify different properties for our screen. For example, these settings, the hold data, switch off runtime, template, hold scroll position, and if you don't want an application toolbar, you select this setting. Also, you have the element list. We're going to see more about the element list later on, but to give you an idea, this is where all your input fields, output fields, buttons, labels appear, and you can assign different functions in this tab to all of your buttons, labels, or input fields. You can navigate more in these tabs when we add some screen elements to our screen. For now, these tabs are empty. And we have what we call the flow logic. In the flow logic, we write ABAP code or logic for our screen. And also we have the layout. In the layout is where we can design our screen with the buttons, the input fields, the labels, and any other screen element we want to add. So before going to the layout and inspection it, let's talk about the layout. The graphic layout editor. Using the graphical screen painter, you can design the layout of the screen or the toolbar. You can maintain element attributes. In a dialog box, all the attributes for the selected screen element are displayed for maintenance. You can get dictionary or program fields. You can use a dialog box to create screen fields with reference to fields from dictionary structures or fields defined within the program. And you can show the element list. It shows all available screen elements including their attributes for maintenance. Let's take a look at the graphic layout editor inside SAP. So back in the system, to design our screen we use the layout. So we click on the push button, go to layout. So the layout editor program is starting now in a different screen. So we wait a while, and this is the graphical screen painter. In the screen painter is where you design your screen, where you add buttons, input fields, labels. So for example, I'm gonna make full screen this. If I go to the Go-To menu, secondary window, I can see the attributes of my screen, my dictionary program or fields, and my element list. Right now, if I look at my element list, it's going to be empty because I haven't added any screen elements to the screen. The attributes, we can see the properties of all of the screen elements that we add. Right now we don't have any screen elements, but when we have, we can use the attributes to manipulate the different properties of the screen elements. And we have the dictionary of the program fields. This is where we select what fields we're going to add to our screen that are related to our program. Now we're going to create a screen to create a small application example of a flight program where you have a basic list that it displays all the airlines and the connections with the airport from and airport to destination. So in that list, you are going to double click a line from the list and it's going to display another screen, that is the screen that we're going to create, where information is going to be displayed, and you can change that information and save it to the database or go back to the main screen. So let's go back to the PowerPoint presentations because I'm going to describe you what we're going to do. So the application example that we have. We will develop a program step by step. This program will enable users to change the master data of the flight schedule. Flight connections are shown in the basic list. When a user selects a flight connection, it takes him to a screen where the detailed data for the selected row is displayed. Some of the details are input ready for maintenance. So basically, we were going to have our first screen where we're going to have the list of flights. So a list of flights is going to be displayed showing the car ID, the flight, the airport from, and the airport to. When we double click on one of these flights, or we use the little icon with the little magnifying glass, then another screen is going to be displayed. This is going to be screen 100, the screen that we created. And on that screen, it's going to be the change flight data screen, where the airline that we selected is going to be displayed, the flight number, the departure airport, the destination airport, and we are going to be able to edit the flight duration and the departure time. These are going to be open input fields, and these are going to be read-only input fields. So we're going to manipulate this data, and then we can save or go back to our first screen. So we're going to create and call a screen. We already created screen 100. We need to add the input fields. The first step is to create a screen, specify its layout, and define its field attributes. The fields airline carrier, flight number, departure airport, and destination airport are to appear as output fields. The field flight duration and departure time are to be made available as input ready fields. Users should be able to call the screen by double-clicking a line within the basic list, and should be able to return to the basic list by choosing the appropriate function on the screen. Creating a screen. There are several ways to create a screen. by means of forward navigation from the ABAP editor. In the ABAP editor, double-click the screen number to create a screen using the Object Navigator. As we previously did, you can create a new program or object screen for your program from the object list in the navigation area using the context menu for your program. In this application example, the screen the user creates is supposed to be called from within the basic list. This means that call screen must belong to the event block at line selection. This is the syntax of our example program. So at the start of selection, we're going to select the fields we need, and then we're going to write it to the screen. And we're going to buffer the key fields using the hide selection. And at the line selection, we're going to select from the say table the record that matches the car ID and the con ID, and we're going to display that to the screen. And after that, we're going to call the screen 100. So let's write this code in our program. So back in the system, let's go back by pressing flow logic. That takes us back to the screen, and let's go back to our program. Right now we are on the screen 100. So how do we go back to our program? We have two ways. We can double click our program from the Object Navigator. So back in our program, we start typing the program that I mentioned you before. So we start declaring a working area. Type our table. Then we start with the start of selection event to start the program. So we select the car ID, the con ID, the airport from, city from, airport to, and city to from the SP fleet database table into the corresponding fields of WA fleet. Then we write our data to the screen, and we're going to add some colors. So I'm going to use the color call_key. This means a key value for the car ID. The same for the con ID, color, the same color. And I'm going to write the airport from, the city from, the airport to, and the city to. We end our select, and remember to write the hide section. So I'm going to hide my car ID and my con ID. After that, I need to program the at line selection event. That is when the user double clicks a line on the screen. So at line selection, I'm going to select single because I only want one record, and I want all the fields from that record from the SP fleet table into the same working area that I have, so I don't have to declare another one. where the car ID equals my hidden fields or my buffered fields, and the car ID equals my other buffered field. After that, I'm going to use the move corresponding, so I move my data to a structure I declared before. I haven't declared yet, but I'm going to move it to a structure, and that structure is going to be connected to the screen so I can display my selected data to the screen. After that, after I move my data to the screen, I call my screen. It is the screen 100. So I'm going to save and check the syntax, and now I get a syntax error, airport from, this was airport 2, so I check again, and then the system tells me this structure doesn't exist. That is because I need to declare it in my program. I'm going to declare it using the tables ABAP statement. Let me tell you a little bit about the tables ABAP statement. The table structure as an interface to the screen. The table statement is used to define a structure variable of the same type and name with reference to the specified dictionary structure. For example, a transparent table within the program. If the screen fields and the table statement refer to the same structure type, the data of their fields is automatically exchanged on the basis of their same names. It is common to create a dictionary structure explicitly for the data exchange. This structure contains fields with the types of fields from various database tables. On the screen, fields are defined with a reference to this structure and as an interface structure is implemented within the program. For this example, we're going to use the structure sdin_conn and then use the table statement to include it in the program. Let's go back to our program now. So back in our program, we are going to declare our structure. Remember that normally you create another C structure that contains all the fields that are going to be displayed on the screen. For this example, I'm going to use a structure that already exists in the system. So that structure is, I use the tables ABAP statement and I save. I check my syntax and I activate my program and my screen. Remember to select your screen. I can double click this to navigate. Double clicking is the same as using forward navigation. So I forward navigate to my structure and I have all these components I can use in my screen. So I go back. Now I'm ready to run my program and test my screen. So I run it, and as you can see, a basic list of the flights is displayed. Car ID with flight number 17 from New York to San Francisco. So the idea is to double click one of these lines or use this icon and it's going to navigate to my created screen. So if I double click, I navigate to my screen, but remember my screen still doesn't have any elements or anything. So how do we add input fields and buttons to our screen? Let me explain you how, using a PowerPoint presentation. creating input and output fields with reference to dictionary fields. You have two options for implementing the assignment of field attributes when you create screen fields. You get them from the dictionary or you get them from your program. The Graphical Screen Painter offers you comfortable options for defining further screen elements such as text, frames, radio buttons, checkboxes, and so on. Maintaining the attributes of a screen element. Double-click a screen element to maintain its attributes. To make input mandatory, assign the attribute required to the screen field. So let's go back to the system and let's create our screen, and we're going to add these fields from the program, and we're going to create these labels on screen 100. So back in our program, let's add some input fields. So we can't go back or exit because remember, right now we are in the screen that we created, and each time we create a screen, we need to program each one of these functionalities. So right now we haven't programmed them, so they are not working. So we can create a new session and we close the previous one. So I'm going to go back here and close it, and then on my new session I navigate again to the object navigator and to my program, my screen. I double click on my screen to navigate, and now I click on change display and I navigate to my screen painter using the layout push button. So now I'm going to make full screen this. So now if I want to add the fields that I have in my program to my screen, remember then that we move them using the move corresponding from a working area to our structure. So now we need to call our structure. How do we do that? We go to dictionary program fields. Now here I write the name of my structure. It was S Dean Con. Just let me check if that is correct. I get from program. Yes, that was correct. And now, oops, wait a minute, there you go. So now I'm going to add my car ID, remember I don't want all the fields, just some of them. And I also needed let me take a look, the airport, the departure airport, that is this one, and the destination airport, this one, the flight duration, this one, the FL time, and the departure time, depth time. So now once I select all my screens, I click on OK, and now I can place them on my screen. So I'm gonna place them here, and now I have, as you can see, the reference of my structure and my fields on my screen. So whatever information I move to this structure is going to be displayed to the screen. Let's add some labels. We do that using this push button, and we make it big here, and we write a text for this. So this is going to be the airline, and a name for the label. So this is airline, and I like to use _LBL for label. And now I'm going to copy and paste, and yes, and I paste, and now this is going to be my flight number, and this is going to be my con ID label. If you see that the input field is colored here with a pink color, that means that it is required that you specify a name. All pink fields are required. So copy and paste again. And this is the departure airport. So departure. So it's not going to fit, so I need to move this a little bit to the right. There you go. And now it's going to fit. And this is the airport from label. Paste one more time. And this is the destination airport. Airp to label. I paste one more time. Now I have my flight duration. And this is my FL time label. And I paste one more time. And then I have my departure time. And this is my depth time label. Now remember that not all of these fields were input fields. Just the last two were input fields. The first one were read-only fields or output fields. So how do I make this an output field? I select it and then I go to secondary window and my attributes. In my attributes I search for the program tab and the input field is not possible. So, or I uncheck input field and I do the same for the rest of my fields. I can just double click and then change not possible. And I do the same for the other ones. So input is not possible. Just on the last two. So I save and I can activate my screen. Yes, I activate. And now my screen is ready and now I can go back using the flow logic. If we take a look at the element list now tab, you can see that all of our labels and input fields were added. And you can see the type, it's text, input, output fields. And you can see all of the other characteristics and properties of you can change the input not possible or possible without going to the screen painter. So it is active now. We run the program. I'm running the screen now here. We need to go back to our program, remember. So I double click my program and I can run it now. So I run and now I double click the first line and now it displays the airline, the flight number, departure airport, departure destination airport, the flight duration, and I can change it to 50 for example, and the departure time that I can also change it. So now I have my screen created. I need to still assign some functionality to these buttons, but now I'm going to add a back push button and a save push button. So let's talk about the next topic, push buttons. Before talking about push buttons, let me tell you about the data transfer from the program to the screen. So after processing the events of PBO and immediately before sending a screen to the presentation server, the field contents of the table structure within the program are automatically copied to the screen fields with the same names. And the data transferred from the screen to the program For user actions on the screen, the content of the screen fields are transported into table structure fields with the same names before the PAI event is processed. The time of this automatic data transfer makes sense, as the user entries are supposed to be processed further in PAI and thus have to be available in the program at that time. You can implement the reading of the data for the screen displayed at any time before sending the screen to the presentation server. There are several ways of doing this. You start by reading the data to be displayed on the screen before retrieving the basic list from the database. You then place this data and the key values in the hide area. For a line selection, all you have to do is copy the data to the table structure so that it's transported to the screen. The disadvantages of this is that you may read a lot of data from the database that is of no interest to the user. If the detailed data in the database has changed between creating the basic list and displaying the screen, the system will display obsolete data. And illustrated in the above graphic, you read the selected flight connection from the database using select single directly before calling the screen. I forgot to include the graphic here, but basically is the select single that we included in our program. So you can go and take a look at the select single that we implemented. Another disadvantage is the system sends a query to the database every time the user double clicks the list. And an advantage is you only read the required data. Apart from that, the data is always